Be strong.
Alrighty, well, good morning and a happy Tuesday, January the 24th of 2023. If I could get that typed up correctly, I think we would be good early this morning. Let's try that. There we go. Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. Good morning to everyone. Welcome to the throw-in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Thank you guys for tuning in this morning. If you guys are watching us live on YouTube, my name is Justin. If you guys are also checking us out this morning on Facebook and or Twitter, we welcome you guys in as we settle in, taking you guys up until noon today. So real quick, I was going to do, man, I don't know what it is. It's last week kind of got me off schedule a little bit where you know, Thursday I had my Charlie horse problems in my calf. And then, so that was a recording. Friday, I had a pro dad's breakfast with my daughters, which was fantastic, amazing. And, kind of sleeping in, not waking up until 8, 9 o'clock in the morning after a few days, you get used to it. And so yesterday, having back spasms in my back yesterday morning because I set my alarm for 4:40 or 4:45. Gives me time to get up, get over here, get myself a drink, coffee, whatever, and kind of get myself ready for the morning. But lately, it's been kind of difficult to get myself up and going with everything that's happened. I completely overslept taking my girls to school. And I'm like, I really dislike putting on a recording, having to download it, edit it, upload it to YouTube, which could take all day, because yesterday's recording didn't upload until late last night, and I had that thing ready to go by 3 o'clock. So I'm all right. I'm gonna do a live program for you guys this morning. It's a little later than our typical schedule, from 6 to 8. It's gonna be 10 to noon, but that's because I want to give out live. I want to give you live content. And that's how you, I guess, give that content by just going live. So, yes, I apologize for not having an earlier program. And I hope that we could get ourselves back on schedule. But I'm excited to at least be able to go live. And maybe, just maybe, there may be a temporary altercation to the schedule depending on how things go. See, the reason why I do a 6 to 8 is because it kind of fits all the bells and whistles to how, to doing the program. It's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is coming on here and talking to you guys about sports. Everyone else is kind of asleep still or just waking up in the house. There's, usually right afterwards, it's 8 o'clock. I could get up and take my, girls to school in the morning and then come home and do whatever I need throughout the day. There's also availability throughout the day to go do appointments and to do things that I have to do, or just, relax, watch sports, watch the news, get ready for the next show or whatever the case may be. Doing a show later in the morning, which is still up in the air, just doesn't give you that time to do, especially Monday through Fridays, doesn't give you the time to get to doctor's appointments or to take the girls to school and whatnot, because I've complexed from 8 to 10. I don't like the odd hours, so 9 to 11 just doesn't, just completely doesn't work for me. And so I woke up late today, had to run downstairs, try to defrost my car or the windshield, and it took about 15-20 minutes. Couldn't take the girls to school. So I like the morning thing, morning program. The only upsetting part I have with that is that when you wake up at 4:40, for me, it takes about maybe an hour or so to get myself ready to go. And if I don't have everything lined up to a T, ready to go by 6 o'clock, then I feel like I'm all over the place. And then I feel like I don't give you my best work. See, I didn't wake up on time for yesterday's program, and it was kind of a bumpy start. I really admit I really did not like the program yesterday, especially that first hour. I had a lot of stuff planned that made sense, talking to you about the divisional games, and I guess I was just really disappointed, I guess, in myself. And I was talking to the missus here after yesterday night, last night, about, man, I really hated the show yesterday, and just how it took off, and it didn't took off to the right start. And I get it, we all have those days, but I was sitting around the first hour yesterday during the show, and I was just having brain farts in a sense. I just really didn't feel like I knew what I wanted to say. I knew the point I wanted to get across. I just didn't, my mouth wouldn't move to get it across. So hopefully today is a better day. Now, we're taking a break from the AFC NFC Conference Championship games, and we're going to kind of take a step back, kind of maybe still a slower day, but we have still plenty of sports that we want to talk about and address this morning for you guys. Um, you know, got a chance to actually sit down and watch all 3 hours of Monday Night Raw last night as WWE celebrated the 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw. I was stoked. I don't get to typically sit down and watch Monday Night Raw. It's not because things going on at the house. No. It's just because my interest level in WWE or in professional wrestling as of late has not been so concrete. So when you ask me, so when I got a chance to sit down and watch Raw, I found out a few hours prior to Raw that on the WWE YouTube page, where Byron Saxton was joined by Ron Simmons and Jerry the King Lawler, in the breaking news that, hey, this is going to be the first hour of Raw was going to be commercial free. And I thought that was exciting. All right, I'm going to tune into it. At least this is going to be a bigger deal. There's also something that gravitated me whenever you promote a specific athlete, especially one of my favorites, The Undertaker, that just draws my attention. Now, I understand that all these Hall of Famers and, all these guys are not really competing each night in and night out, but I mean, when you get to see your old, what you grew up, when you get to witness the athletes and the talents that you grow up with, I think, it draws that attention back to the, hey, let's watch it for old time's sake. And I have to admit, it was a very entertaining, program. Monday Night Raw was really entertaining, and it really made me want to watch from the beginning to the end. And for the first time in a while, it kind of brought me back to maybe the older days. When I say older days, I mean my lifetime, where I don't know what 2005 to 2013 at least, where you didn't know what was coming up next. You didn't know how the segment was going to finish, and there was twists and turns. But also, the entertaining part from every segment made you want to watch what happened next. And this time around, Raw 30, every segment had something, including in the past, the present, and then the future. And that was really what was which gravitated my attention to last night and kept me watching the entire time. You kicked off a full fulfilled hour, I'd say probably about a solid 45, 50 minutes of the bloodline, whether that was the, kicking things off with, the tribal council and, Paul Heyman having this vendetta over Sami Zayn, and, then, the Usos finally step up and kind of defend Sami Zayn and what he's done for the bloodline in the past, recent times. And then you get into the Usos defending their Raw tag titles, against the Judgment Day. And so all that spilled, and you didn't quite expect, Sami Zayn to fill in for Jimmy's spot, and during the match, and help retain those Raw tag team titles. That was completely different. That was it was kind of like it, and ever you felt the energy in the crowd, in the stands. And then you had the segment with LA Knight and the Undertaker, and we'll talk about that. But that first full hour was just very impactful. It was very motivating to continue watching. I was captivated from the first start, and it was exciting. And I'm like, all right, I like this direction. Hopefully, I mean, I understand that every week isn't going to be like this, but especially one of my key problems with Monday Night Raw is the fact that it's a 3-hour program, and yet they don't necessarily still have 3 hours of entertainment. And sometimes when you have that longevity of a period of time, you think about, all right, I got to put on better matches, longer matches. And I feel a lot that the WWE and Monday Night Raw gets bombarded with commercial breaks because it's a 3-hour program. And, so I feel like it's a mess. It's hard to gravitate, the beginning of the week when, you got to get ready for the next morning when, it's a school night. There are 3 hours of a program. You kind of would figure, hey, let's go ahead and have that, 3 hours maybe on Friday night, SmackDown. So, anyways, that's my biggest, I guess, pet peeve when it comes down to having, 3 hour, Monday Night Raw, 3 hours, trying to give, your attention span throughout the entire time. And I know that there's DVR, but sometimes it's difficult to watch 3 hours of one program that's kind of more of a storytelling. It's not like it's football, right? Where it doesn't just get better and better and better. Sometimes, these stories take time. You don't want them to unravel all at once. So you don't necessarily see the conclusion of anything for weeks to come. But overall, compared Raw 30 to, let's say, Raw 25, I have to say it was night and day. I understand what WWE was doing 5 years ago, trying to have 2 locations because you couldn't have the capacity crowd at the first ever Raw site. But there was just something about Raw 25 going back and forth, not, and hearing the reactions to the fans that were in attendance and how maybe they were a little disappointed in the outcome and the turn of events. And that's a difficult thing when you have 2 separate locations holding at the same time, and you're trying to go back and forth and bring, Hall of Famers and, people you haven't seen in quite some time, and to entertain two sets of crowds. in one program, it becomes much more difficult. On the screen, it probably looks, if you have all your ducks lined up in the row, on the screen, it looks fantastic. It looks like a masterpiece. But when you're actually there in New York and you're, trying to put two things on and then one thing fails, you have the Undertaker show up at one location. Well, the Undertaker ain't showing up at the other location. DX shows up at one location. DX isn't showing up at the other location. So you kind of just get that mixed around and twirled up in knots. And for me, they focused in on one location, Philadelphia. They've always found a way to make it involve Philadelphia, which, you know, and I could get to, Paul Heyman, and you kind of get behind Roman Reigns when he wants Philadelphia to acknowledge him, but then Paul Heyman shoots it down, saying that Brock Purdy and the 49ers are going to beat the Eagles this coming up Sunday. So Raw 30, I just say automatically 10 times better. Especially compared to Raw 25. You also got, the, it felt good for a moment to see guys like Hulk Hogan, and, you got the typicals like Shawn Michaels, Triple H. I get that. But then you got JBL and that little, scene with APA, the $1 Million Man, Jimmy Hart. And so you really got to see, some really great, Kurt Angle becoming a part of, apparently trying to become a part of DX, filling in the shoes. Him playing the role of becoming a special guest referee in the Street Profits versus in the 6-man tag match with Imperium. But overall, great program. I really liked it. It's really it really also, although we were celebrating the past 30 years of history in the WWE, we also were really nailing a lot of concrete stuff, getting ready for the Royal Rumble this Saturday. I mean, from the first moment to the ending of the moment, you kept the show going. So now there's something to watch next week. And then there's also, there was also some conclusions that we had to get to this week. And some stuff is getting ready for this coming up Saturday, where the Royal Rumble and the road to WrestleMania officially begins. So overall, positive attitude, positive motive. We'll talk a little bit more about that in our program this morning. We'll also talk a little bit about a couple of things coming around the other sports, such as a couple of the stuff coming out of the NFL. We'll kind of break down Stephon Diggs' temper tantrum that he had on Sunday's Bills loss to the Bengals. I don't know how much there is to really go off of it, other than honestly just a defense to Stephon Diggs and the Buffalo Bills. And I feel like everyone should be a Stephon Diggs right now if you're in the Buffalo locker room or in the Buffalo roster. So we'll talk a bit about that. We'll talk about a little bit about coming up Sunday between the 49ers and Eagles, especially out of the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan's thoughts, maybe a prediction. The thought of potentially having Jimmy Garoppolo return for the NFC Conference Championship game. So we'll talk about that. Bill O'Brien returns to New England, so we'll get that going. The trade between the Lakers and the Wizards that happened yesterday. Also, Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame class will be introduced today. We'll get you more details on that. So a lot of it's going to probably be about Monday Night Raw, getting yourself ready into the Royal Rumble, which is this weekend. And then we'll have some news in the world of sports, kind of lingering bits and pieces throughout the day. So we're just getting ready and just getting started here, I guess, on a Tuesday morning. And like I said, apologize for the time change from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Now it's from 10 to noon for today. Don't know how the rest of the week is going to turn out. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm already feeling great. Better kickoff than yesterday's program. And so I hope you guys enjoy. like I said, if you guys are watching from YouTube, thank you. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Get down in the comments, communicate with me what's going on and what your thoughts are. If you guys are watching us on Facebook and Twitter, we thank you. Share with your friends. Also, if you guys miss any action, any episodes, any segments, be sure to take us on the road with you wherever you go by downloading us on all audio streaming platforms. Yeah, that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, anywhere you get audio podcasting. Hey, we're on there. So check us out at the throw-in on there. All right, let's step aside. Let's take a break and come on back and talk some more sports. You guys are listening to the throw-in with Justin right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. $10:25 here on the throw-in, taking you guys up until noon, available on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. we want to give a big shout out because none of this is possible without the help and assistance from StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the Throw-In and anything presented on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. StreamYard Studios is where you could create podcasts, videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out the free version today at StreamYard.com. Alrighty, we're just talking about getting back and just kind of recapping Raw 30, which was a very entertaining program for me over last night, over the 3 hours. And like I said, surprisingly, the entire 3 hours was really something special, something that I know that I'm going to remember for years to pass. And being a fan for my longest period of time. And you know, and here's the other thing, growing up, I did not necessarily watch Monday Night Raw because before the cable came out with the time changes, you're capable of watching it 2-3 hours in advance. We weren't getting that, you know, for programs like WWE. So when I was growing up, Raw was on at 9 p.m. at night. And, you know, school night, Monday, you got to get to bed by 9-10. Maybe you catch maybe a couple matches, but you really missed out on a lot. I missed out on growing up on guys like, you know, Randy Orton when he got drafted back to Raw, Triple H longevity time over there when Edge and Big Show was out there over there. It wasn't necessarily until they started having their shows, you know, actually at, you know, come, you know, airing either at 8 or, you know, actually at 6, where you could actually sit down and watch it. So there was a good chunk of Raw that I missed. Probably, I would say probably at least a solid 17, maybe, you know, 15 to 17 years of Monday Night Raw. But it's not just a celebration of Monday Night Raw. It's a celebration of WWE and what, you know, how it's evolved over 30 years, you know, since Raw was created. You know, we got to see a lot of the greats, guys like Hulk Hogan, which it's always great. You know, I think as a fan, you know, you could put your differences aside, but as a fan, you enjoy, you know, the people you enjoy watching. You know, Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, The Undertaker, Kurt Angle, Jerry the King Lawler. You know, Teddy Long made an appearance, and so those guys has I feel for me that really brought together Raw in last night's 3 hour extravaganza. I was a little disappointed to not see some people. You know, I know that there was rumors and talks that we didn't see a whole lot of females. The Bella twins who played a huge impact. I, you know, read some tweets earlier this morning about Michelle McCool never got the invite to Raw 30. And then it was like, you know, one of, I guess, my childhood, you know, stars coming out that dominated and carried Raw, if not WWE, for a long period of time was John Cena. He wasn't there last night. So, you know, I was, you know, for the people that WWE was able to get, I was pleased about. But for the people that they weren't able to get, I was hoping to see certain people. You know, maybe I was also maybe hoping to see Kane for one time. So, you know, I'm not gonna go you know, drill on it. You know, it is what it is. But overall, I mean, it was a really good program. Kicking things off on Raw, the first hour commercial free was the tribal court with Roman Reigns, the bloodline, and Sami Zayn, determining the fate of Sami Zayn's relationship with the bloodline. It, you know, it was a solid solid segment to say. You know, they went back and forth. Paul Heyman apparently has this vendetta over Sami Zayn and how he has interrupted you know, maybe their momentum moving forward, and they use this exhibit A through exhibit D, and that's great. And Roman calls Solo Sikoa to kind of, all right, let's take him out, right? And before Solo could do anything, Jey Uso, the person that I guess the one half of the Usos and one half of the unified tag team title or champions, stopped Solo because, hey, Sami Zayn has been a contribution to the success that the bloodline has had, especially when it comes down to the Usos or to Roman Reigns. And I love, I feel like there was obviously more solid evidence for Sammy's positivity to the contribution to the bloodline compared to what Paul Heyman had to present. A lot of stuff with what Paul Heyman presented was either at the beginning when Sammy didn't quite know his position, and he took self precautionary measures, to maybe I think the last evidence was when Sami Zayn was up at the top of War Games celebrating when the bloodline left. And I just say to that, I mean, I think that's a bunch of baloney. I mean, Sami Zayn is his own character. And I think that's one thing that separates Sami Zayn from the bloodline, as well as keeping Sami Zayn tied along to the bloodline. Roman Reigns ultimately gives Sami Zayn saying, hey, listen, I don't want to see you for the rest of the night. I don't want to see you, just go on, do your business. I don't want to see you until the Royal Rumble. And the thing that I'm going to, when I see you at the Royal Rumble, you will be given one last challenge. And based off of how you execute that will determine your future for for moving forward with the bloodline. And, listen, the bloodline with or without Sami Zayn is a dominant entity. They dominate in the ring. Yes, Sami Zayn has helped and assisted the bloodline in many different ways, and Sami Zayn has had to come through and maybe sacrifice long-term friendships outside the bloodline for it. But, Roman Reigns it was important that Roman Reigns addressed his authority, not to the WWE universe, but to Sami Zayn, saying, listen, at the end of the you've been getting, I don't know if you would say getting out of hand, but this is, Paul Heyman's in one ear, Sami Zayn's in the other ear. And this is really going to fuck up the minds of Roman Reigns, especially knowing that he's heading into Saturday defending his undisputed WWE Universal Championship against Kevin Owens, a former friend of Sami Zayn. So I understand and I see where Roman Reigns is coming from. He needs this drama that is being lingered around backstage between Sami and Paul Heyman doesn't need to be happening right now, especially as we are on the road to WrestleMania. There's a lot of people in Roman's ears saying that, he's going to drop the title this Saturday, that, The Rock may be returning on Saturday at the Rumble, and all that stuff. And this is a time where Roman really needs to get himself in check, in the right, mindset. But I think the bigger picture out of this was Sami Zayn, obviously, right? So, Roman Reigns says that stuff, and then they go on straight into the tag team title match with the Usos defending the titles against Judgment Day, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio. And I'll talk about Judgment Day more in depth, but obviously this match was about the Usos, was about Sami Zayn being at ringside. And really, realistically, you're worried now because one wrong slip, one wrong move by Sami Zayn, and the world comes to a direct end. So, going through the match, like I said, commercial free, entertaining through and through. Felt like they went back and forth quite a bit. And then, and I mean, obviously, this is for me, I could tell by now a lot of it was stalling time, possibly. Well, Jimmy gets injured and, he's unable to compete. Adam Pearce comes out and says, listen, if you're not able to compete, man, you're going to have to forfeit those titles. Sammy uses his honorary title to say, hey, I'm a Sammy Uso. I'm going to replace Jimmy, continue this match. And after a couple of scares, the the unified tag team titles are retained by Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. Obviously, you could tell on Sami Zayn's face that he just does not. Yeah, he just probably just quite doesn't know what just happened. Roman Reigns in the back, in his locker room says, all right, he's may survive this night, but I don't want to see. He made it clear to Paul that he does not want to see Sami Zayn until the Royal Rumble, which is this Saturday, not too far away. My biggest question my biggest thing is coming out of here and coming out of this scenario is I think, we made the first hour around Sami Zayn, and I feel like Sami Zayn has much bigger decision that he maybe has to consider moving forward with the bloodline. A lot at the beginning, you understood that the bloodline was a protection for Sami Zayn, right? It's either if you can't beat them, be them. And he didn't really have anything going for him in storyline. He was kind of being forgotten almost. I think things were running stale with him. And so joining into the bloodline, he's, and making it work, because I remember at the beginning, I'm like, dude, Sami Zayn does not fit into this bloodline role whatsoever. And so being able to make it work in lasting 9 months, I think is something completely different, to the point where you got fans defending you and behind you on all of this. But I think at the end of the day, Sami Zayn has to kind of sit back and reevaluate his long-term decisions. Regardless of whatever rumors may linger about what's coming up maybe at WrestleMania. I mean, I think, if Sami Zayn had this controversy where he had to do this whole sit down with, Roman Reigns in the bloodline a week before the Royal Rumble, maybe you got to say, listen, the bloodline may not be the best thing for me. And I think it completely sucks, because you don't want to see a good thing be destroyed, right? You don't want to see, after the relationship that Sami Zayn has built with the Usos, and even to Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns over the past 9 months, you don't want to see that being flushed away, and have Sami Zayn step away and turn against. But maybe this is also the perfect time to do so. And right here, this scene last night kind of just reiterates, hey, moving forward, Sammy, maybe it is your best bet to get out. And, it makes perfect sense now, kind of building up to it, and how they could potentially build up if they wanted to see something like the Usos taking on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. To see that build up, it can be a build up, and they've laid out the platform for a perfect build up come WrestleMania. But overall, our number one was fulfilled with moments, with the bloodline leading, dominating the WWE, back and forth. And also, it's about Sami Zayn, and he got a lot of attention last night, and rightfully doing so. So kudos to Sami Zayn. Congratulations to the Usos retaining the tag team titles. And as this unfolds to WrestleMania, we begin the rules of WrestleMania. I would like to see exactly what does the bloodline put Sami Zayn through, and then at what point is the tipping point for Sami Zayn saying, because he was ready last night. He was like, listen, I got nothing to defend here. All right. You guys are going to do what you guys want to do. And if you're going to let Paul Heyman come in to dictate whether or not I'm validated for the bloodline, then so be it. That's what he was. And I feel like as we progress, maybe he's given up. He's like, listen, I've battled, I've sacrificed my life for you. I've put myself in harm's way. I've taken chair shots, just like what Jay, presented last night. And he's like, well, what's in it this return? I have to be downgraded and talked down upon because of Paul Heyman, is getting into your ear. That's kind of ridiculous. So we'll see what the future holds, but a very detailing segments. If you got to try to break it down and pinpoint in between the lines, really one of the great starts to Monday Night Raw and to the Raw's 30th anniversary. All right, more still to come on Monday Night Raw 30th anniversary. We'll talk about what happened at the end with Austin Theory and Bobby Lashley as the United States Championship was on the line. I also want to share, coming back from break, a tweet that The Undertaker made after his appearance, which happened at the end of hour number 1. So we'll go ahead and come back and talk about that. Still more to come, taking you guys up until noon here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. 10:45 here on the throw-in. Something that popped up yesterday morning, I guess released, is that the Jay Briscoe's memorial T-shirt has been released, limited time only. Get your T-shirts at the it's at the prowrestlingtees.com/dimboys. They're starting at $25. All proceeds goes to the Pug family in honorary of the passing last week, Jay Briscoe. And I would like to see if I have a couple extra bucks this weekend to actually order mine. I think this is an honorary good thing coming out of what Ring of Honor is doing. Great work. So if you guys are looking to get your T-shirts in honorary of Jay Briscoe, you guys want to help contribute to it, hey, it's always good to get something out of it, I guess. I mean, other than just donating. So get your T-shirts there. All right. We're talking about Raw 30, which was last night. A lot of things transpired. We just talked heavily on Sami Zayn and the bloodline scenario that took up hour number one. At the end of hour number one, though, we saw LA Knight standing in the ring and talking about how he's wanting to invite a part-timer or a Hall of Famer down to the ring to set an example and show the WWE universe a little taste of what he's planning on doing this coming up Saturday against Bray Wyatt in a pitch black match. And listen, when you think of Bray Wyatt, you think of mystical games. You automatically kind of go to, and I was very, very excited and pleased to see the Undertaker return. Different way, the gong kind of went off a few times, and then the American Badass. I feel like that's the only persona, Mark needs to kind of persuade now. And, you saw the struggle. It's been a while since you've seen the American Badass and the motorcycle kind of make their way down to the ring and present, give themselves a nice interest. But it was great to see the Undertaker, because the last time we really saw the dead man was at the Hall of Fame ceremony. And, it was about getting in the ring. LA Knight kind of, once, the Undertaker got into the ring, which I appreciate LA Knight getting out, like most athletes do, give him that center stage. You've, kind of come in, step back out. Bray Wyatt ends up being behind you. I thought for a slight moment that maybe Kane returned and scared LA Knight back into the ring, but Bray Wyatt, ended up, and that was just as fine for me to see. LA Knight got back into the ring. The Undertaker was getting ready for a choke slam, but then realized that Bray Wyatt got into the ring, gave LA Knight to Bray Wyatt, and then you see the stare down for a quick moment between Bray Wyatt and the Undertaker. And right off the bat, I knew for a fact, when you know that the Undertaker is done competing inside that ring, then he's done competing in that side of that ring. He will make appearances here and there, of course. He may deliver a choke slam once or twice, of course. But when the opportunity presents himself to help out another rising star, as in Bray Wyatt, because he's still rising to the top, then that's what you do. You help out Bray Wyatt by giving. Now, this whole stare down, right? It was just a stare down. I don't know if anyone in the clear mind thought that for a moment that the dead man and, Bray Wyatt was going to reunite maybe the rivalry from a decade ago. No, you're going to see clearly, this was the time, and and the Undertaker knew, and you saw this last night, in the sense of, hey, this is a passing of the torch, you guys. This is, this is a clear message that, hey, Bray, this is your yard now. You're going to play these mind games, and you go out and do it. So a great moment given by in this scene between the Undertaker and Bray Wyatt. Definitely was still bone chilling to me. I'm like, I'm on the edge of my seat. What's going to happen? I can feel, though, this time, especially when it came down to the Undertaker, that you're kind of more relaxed, settled into your seat, because you almost could be, you almost know what's going to happen. You can anticipate the actions from the Undertaker. But between Taker and Bray Wyatt, there was a little bit of, chills that you felt on the screen coming from the coming from the fans that's in the crowd. So great return by the Undertaker. Great moment. He also had a tweet after the show, or after his entrance. The Undertaker tweeted out, which is for me a rare moment. Moments define this industry. This one was special. Now I don't know clearly what Mark said to Bray, if he said anything. And I know there's mediocrity kind of throwing stuff in there and out, but it is moments like these that really separate, make you enjoy and appreciate every moment. And to be able to be Bray Wyatt and to be that person that can continue playing mind games and getting these guys, and kind of picking and doing your own storylines, you do take a step back and appreciate everything that has been given over the course of the 30 years of Raw. Becky Lynch and Bayley also reunited. It has been growing their rivalry intense. They were scheduled for a steel cage match last night, but as Becky Lynch came down, Damage Control came out and just brutally attacked Becky Lynch. Bayley kept on saying this is what Becky Lynch wanted, and man, this is a rivalry that's going to unfold and just grow bigger and bigger. I'm excited to see how far they could take this rivalry to. Will they see themselves in a steel cage match? Why not a Hell in a Cell match at some point? But to main event Monday Night Raw last night, finishing things off, was Austin Theory and Bobby Lashley, United States Championship match that turned into a no disqualification. And I was a little bit of I thought maybe this would have worked in Bobby Lashley's favor for a moment. I was utterly shocked and surprised to see Brock Lesnar return. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. You can see, there's been picks and bones at maybe Bobby Lashley taking on Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, of course. But my thing was, yesterday we were talking about the Hurt Business reuniting. We're talking about MVP and Omos giving their hand to help Bobby Lashley earn this title opportunity last week. And we thought maybe the WWE's made this, when I saw this announcement that the WWE made this match a no disqualification. Oh, great. We're going to see Omos and MVP get in the way, whether that's going to cost them a title, cost Austin Theory this United States Championship, or cost Bobby Lashley the United States Championship. But I think we're more surprised to see Brock Lesnar come out, return, and it's always fun. I mean, so I don't know how much people are invested right now as this early process still unfolds. If we could see maybe a Lashley and Brock again, but at WrestleMania, which I think this would be more entertaining to watch at. But now, coming after Raw 30, is that now you could start almost speculating a few things that can happen heading to the road to WrestleMania. like I said, the road to WrestleMania begins this Saturday at the Royal Rumble. We have 6 matches, 2 Royal Rumble matches, the men's and women's, and I'll share with you whose has already confirmed entry in a moment. We also have the pitch black match between LA Knight and Bray Wyatt, the Raw Women's Championship match between Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair, and the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. That's all still to come at WrestleMania. For the women's Royal Rumble match, very few selective people. Like I said, it's going to be 30 people, both men and women. For the women's, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, and Zelina Vega, and Emma has already confirmed entry into this match. 23 slots are still available. Men's Royal Rumble match, Kofi Kingston, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, Ricochet, Santos Escobar, Cody Rhodes, Omos, Rey Mysterio, Gunther, Baron Corbin, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and Karrion Kross have all confirmed Raw's entry to the Royal Rumble. There's 15 slots still remaining. And then don't forget, something we'll talk about a little later on, country music star Hardy is set to perform at the Royal Rumble this Saturday, available on Peacock. So Raw 30 overall, great performance. I'm excited to see what's to come. I think they took a lot of things happen, a lot of directions to be changed, a lot of storylines to continue, and that's what you want to see. It's not, for me, it wasn't overpowering, but it was powering enough to say, hey, all right, let's tune into Friday, see what's going to happen. Let's tune into the Royal Rumble. Obviously, let's tune into the next week's Raw, because we are unclear what could happen to see. All right, hour number 1 of to this morning's program is complete. I apologize for the late start this morning, but welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hour number 2 is coming up here in just a moment. Stay tuned. You guys are listening to The Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me.
Hour number 2 here of the throw-in on this Tuesday morning is given to you by Spreaker. If you miss any segments or any part of the show, you want to go back and listen to it, or you want to go back and listen to another show or down the future, you guys could take us on the road with you wherever you go by downloading us on all audio streaming platforms. Anywhere you get your podcasts at, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, you name it. You can find it. We're on there. The throw-in. Check us out, download us, and don't miss a single episode. Alrighty, hour number 2 here of the throw-in. And you know that this time at the beginning of hour number 2, we like to kind of give you more of a local sports news and coverage about what's going on around the local town of Cincinnati. Now, not a lot of things are going on. A lot of the games are going to be playing tomorrow. Like, again, since the Cyclones have their hockey game against Newfoundland Growlers, puck drops tomorrow night at 7:30, and then Xavier Musketeers will take on UConn at 6:30 tomorrow night in the Big East Conference there. And then you got the Bearcats are playing this weekend. The Wildcats, though, coming into play today, they'll be in Vanderbilt to take on Vanderbilt at 9 p.m. They're 13-6 on the season, 4-3 in conference. They're on a 3-game winning streak after picking up a victory back on Saturday against Texas A&M in a win 76-67. So we're hoping to continue things moving forward on that story. But mainly, I think the only other thing that I could think of coming out of local news here, obviously we're going to get ready later on this week for the Bengals and Chiefs game. But something I was actually listening to in another podcast, I did not realize this was happening until yesterday, is that the Reds are bringing back the caravan. The Reds caravan is a kind of like a little meet and greet stop before spring training. Now, pitchers and catchers are to report February 15th, February 20th is for the remainder of the position players. So literally right around the corner, baseball and spring training begins, especially for Cincinnati. Now, they obviously play in Arizona, and they have to go travel. But before they travel, apparently something I was unaware of what they've done until just now, or until just recently, that they used to have a caravan that will kind of travel and make their tour, trying to either invite people out to spring training, or trying to get fans to promote and to, I guess, not promote, but help and promote the Reds organization for this upcoming 2023 season. So the caravan this year, we have a West, East, North, and South tour that started yesterday in Hamilton, Ohio. Let me give you the tours and who's going to be on each tour, and then I'll explain to you what's the rest of the schedule, including today. So in the West tour, of course, I would have something. My fiance gave me breakfast this morning, wonderful breakfast that she gave me. So thank you. But I kind of just spit it out onto my microphone here. That's what happens when you wake up later. You don't get breakfast right away. All right. So the West tour will stop in Ohio and Indiana, and includes Major League infielder Jose Barrero, minor league outfielder Austin Hendricks, manager David Bell, alumni Corky Miller, broadcaster Jeff Brantley, and Brian Giesensklag. I apologize if I butchered that name. And the mascot Rosie Red. That's going to be the West tour. The East tour here will be stopping in West Virginia, including Major League outfielder T.J. Friedel, minor league Nick Northcutt, and Casey Legumina, broadcaster Tommy Throm, general manager Nick Kroll, and mascot Mr. Red. The North Tour will make stops, including in Ohio, Major League infield Alejo Lopez, minor league Cam Collier and Tyler Callahan, Reds Hall of Famer Chris Sabo, broadcaster Jim Day, Hall of Famer broadcaster Marty Brenneman, and general manager Nick Krell, Nick Krell, and mascot Gapper. And then finally, in the South Tour, we'll be making stops in Kentucky, including Major League infielder Spencer Steer, minor league Nick Northcutt, and Levi Strout, alumni Corky Miller, broadcaster John Sadek, and Tommy Thrall, assistant general manager Sam Grossman, and Mr. Redlegs. Now, like I said, the North one, this was part of the West Tour, so the first group of guys like Jose Barrero, David Bell, Jeff Brantley, Rosie Red, all made the trip yesterday to Hamilton, Ohio. This was a tour that was made today. They're going to be at Batesville, Indiana, 6 to 8 p.m. Southeastern Indiana at the YMCA. That same West Tour will be presented there. Tomorrow, they will have the East Tour in Charleston, West Virginia, at the Coliseum and Convention Center. Thursday, they'll be at the East Tour again in Huntington, West Virginia, at the Huntington Mall. Friday, there's two of them in Louisville, Kentucky, and Columbus, Ohio, the South and North Tour. The Louisville, Ohio will be at the Louisville Slugger Field and the Polarized Fashion Place in Columbus as well. And then Saturday, to tip it off, all four of them, I believe, or not four of them, but the North Tour has two, one in Lima, Ohio, and Dayton, Ohio. And then the other one is going to be for the South Tour, one in Bowling Green and Lexington, Kentucky. I know that's kind of all confusing. We'll give you a little bit day by day. The East Tour goes twice. West Tour did yesterday and today. South Tour will do 3. Well, North and South Tours will do 3 heading into the weekend. You know, both of them will be on Friday, Saturday, and Saturdays. Nothing really surprisingly shocks you about this tour. You have some minor league players, a lot of it in minor league players, and I get it. You're trying to promote minor league product heading up. You know, you get a chance to see David Bell in the West, so that's early on in the week. But our North Tour and South Tour will kind of head to the end of the weekend. The thing I have with this, and I was listening to it, and I have to agree, you don't have the owners, the Castellinis, involved. And I understand that, you know, listen, I think they're kind of running away from this, in my opinion, because, I mean, let's face it. They have kind of dug themselves a small little grave that every word coming out of the mouth seems to be against the fan base and saying, hey, we have no confidence. We're not going to win. And because we're not going to win, we're going to be like, well, no, you guys are going to like it or not. And I don't care if you're the worst team in baseball. All right. You always look into the new season, no matter what part of, if you're in the front office or if you're even the guy in the concession stands or, working the concession stands, or even if you're the guy out on the street, across the street, selling merchandise. Your idea is that you're going to come into this season winning the World Series. And that should always, and you should be like, hey, this is what we're going to, we have A, B, and C. Those are our weapons that are going to help us get over that hump and make it to the World Series. And especially when you hear from the owners saying that we're not going to be good, we actually suck. And a matter of fact, before the season even begins, and matter of fact, even before spring training begins, we are not going to be good. Then there is that already doubt. Like, how can you get fans to be motivated? And this caravan, yes, there's a lot of excitement that people will get to see, a little taste of, hey, this is what the Reds have to offer. This is what they're thoughts and motivations going into the season is going to be. And obviously, the players' mindset, hey, we want to go win a championship. Great. But when you look at this list, you really don't have anyone exciting. So, yeah, you don't see the Castellinis. And I'm, listen, probably better yet than none because you shouldn't probably see them. I know if I would see them, if they were listed, I would head out to one of these locations and be like, Phil, Bob, what the hell are you guys doing on this with this team? I understand you're cutting, but why in the world are you trying to tell us that we're going to suck before we begin this season? So it's a little different. Like I'm like, all right, so here's a little pass. It's probably best just to say, stay separate because that if the Castellinis win out, they're going to get some harsh reactions, especially off the comments and decisions that they have made over the past year. But still, this could be potentially, I don't see guys like Will Myers. I don't see guys, some, better Hall of Famers that we wish we could see. Joey Votto is another great example. This could potentially be his last year with the team. Most likely it will be. You would think he's a big fan out of it. I know apparently last year guys like Mike Moustakas went out there. Let me Mike Moustakas, Nick Castellanos, Shogo Akiyama. So they had some promising things last year that we saw saying, all right, here's what's new to our team. Here's our minor league system. And here is where, this is how we're trying to advance ourselves and our record from last year. And you look at look at this tour, Jose Barrero, okay, Alejo Lopez. There's really no one that you brought from the outside to come in. You think of guys like, Kevin Newman, Will Myers, Tyler Stevenson, could be a good potential. Joey Votto's on that list. Jonathan India are on my all key guys on my list. And I think, I heard this yesterday. You don't even hear Ellie De La Cruz, even as a name, being on this list. So you kind of just wonder, all right, it feels to me as if they kind of just threw these guys out there. I mean, it's great. For me, being a sports broadcaster, host, whatever, to this show, to be podcasting, seeing guys like Tommy Thrall, Jeff Brantley, Marty Brenneman, always great. Get to talk to them, get to chat it up, and get some advice, words of wisdom from some of the greats. But when you're looking as a fan base, there's really no one out there that's kind of like attracting, hey, I got to go and see this person. Jose Barrero doesn't make that announcement, David Bell, not necessarily. TJ Freedom, no. Alejo Lopez, no. Maybe a few years ago. But, if you had a Joey Votto, yes, I think those lines will be out the door. If you had a Will Myers, I think those lines will be out the door. If you had Ellie De La Cruz, of course, he's your top prospect. And it's not to go say, right? It's not to go say that, that Joey Votto will not be there. It's just he's not listed. And you think that if you would list him, you'd get you would think, okay, if I'm the Reds owners, I'm going to do this caravan before spring training. I want to, if I want to, I want people to come see us. I want people, if I'm going all the way out to Hamilton, if I'm going all the way out to West Virginia, down to Louisville, I want give people a reason to come see us. And so I'm going to send people out that I know are going to get a hit. At least one good person, you're going to think about, think like, say, Joey Votto, if he goes down to Louisville, people are going to come see him. If you send Will Myers out to West Virginia, people are going to come see him. So that's my point. You need to have, or you should be having, a major league player saying, all right, this is, someone who could really speak on behalf of the Reds. Because no disrespect to Alejo Lopez, no disrespect to Jose Barrero, but I mean, listen, they're also young. They just recently came up in the system. I mean, they're not everyday starters. And a guy maybe Jose Barrero, who's been injured all year last year, I mean, there's really no one. Spencer Steer, Alejo Lopez, TJ Friedel, all, even if they came up last year, they're all, they didn't have one or two. You think you'd have some veterans in there that know a little bit more, that could help encourage the fan base to lead the team to some success. So the Reds Caravan, as I mentioned, we'll pay attention to that all week. But if you live in Indiana, Batesville, Indiana, on the West Tour, which means you'll get Jose Barrera, Austin Hendricks, David Bell, Corky Miller, Jeff Brantley, Rosie Red, and Brian will be displaying a Q&A session down there at the Southeastern Indiana YMCA from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Head on down there. Everything is free. And then, if, like I said, for tomorrow, if you for the East Tour, if you're in West Virginia, you guys are nearby Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center, 5:30 to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Check out the West Tour or the East Tour, which will be filled with TJ Friedel, Nick Northcutt, Casey Legumina, Tommy Thrall, Nick Krell, and Mr. Red as part of that. We'll keep you updated as that progresses. Otherwise, that's kind of all that's going through right now in the Reds organization as we get ready for spring training. All right, let's come on back. Let's talk a little bit more sports. We have this last hour ahead of you, take you guys up until 8 o'clock until not 8 o'clock. Time changes a little bit. To high noon here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days, lost in the rhythm. Physical silence, no need to speak a word, lay here beside me. Don't wanna live to fight.
11:22 here on the Throw-In. We'd like to give a big shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. Presented by Epidemic Sound, Doing the Twist by OTE. Only available on epidemicsound.com. Man, we're just having a great morning. I feel refreshed. And guys want to know what I had for breakfast this morning, check out our Facebook page at the TNC Sports Talk Facebook page. They're made by my spouse, my partner, my significant other, Riley, who did a great job. I loved it. It was a biscuit, egg, bacon, cheese sandwich with tomato, sliced tomato in it, which is just elevates it tremendously. Made it during the show. Just gave it to me, kind of nitpicking at it throughout the breaks that I give here, given here. But man, great breakfast. So thank you for to her as well. All right, we kind of got a chance to really just sit back and really talk about Monday Night Raw, some professional wrestling, and kind of getting a break from stories and updates around the world. One thing that's coming out of a couple of stories that I do want to get to this morning here, heading into finishing off the program. We talked a little bit about Reds Caravan before break. I want to talk a little bit more about baseball here, because the Baseball Hall of Fame will be announced tonight at 6 p.m. available on the MLB Network. There's a total of 28 guys listed to be voted. Now, according to how Baseball Hall of Fame votes work, they're supposed to be, I think it was like 75% or greater, and the only person that has even close to that was Scott Rowland. And so I guess I don't know too much details. All I know is that the class of 2023 should be announced tonight by 6 p.m. It's included guys, 28 guys. I'm going to quickly go over the list. Bobby Abreu, Mark Bueller, Todd Helton, Torrey Hunter, Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent, Andrew Petit, Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, Scott Rowland, Jimmy Rollins, Gary Sheffield, Omar Vizquel, Billy Wagner, and then including the first-time rounds, Bronson Arroyo, Carlos Beltran, Matt Cain, R.A. Dickey, Jacoby Ellsbury, Andre Ethier, J.J. Hardy, John Lackley, Mike Napoli, Johnny Peralta, Francisco Rodriguez, Houston Street, Jared Reaver, and Jason Worth. Those are all part of the class. Now, it will be announced tonight who's going to be entered in. So stick around to see. I can't wait to talk to you a lot about that tomorrow morning. We're getting to the time frame where a lot of these players, almost everyone who, maybe minus 102, that I know that, I grew up watching, whether it was actually getting to watch them in the games and on the screen, or if it was morely so getting a chance to, all right, you hear about them because they're a part of a successful team. And then right now, just guys on that list, Scott Rowland, okay, great, deserves to be in. Andrew Jones, Torrey Hunter, watching, when I watched him and Vladimir Guerrero at the end of their careers in Anaheim. Todd Helton over in Colorado deserves to be in. Bobby Abreu. Listen, there's going to be controversy with Alex Rodriguez. I'm not going to talk about that right this second, but there's a elite young, guys that there's probably a case for each and every one of them. And, I'm liking guys like Gary Sheffield. So, there's controversy. So the two big controversies coming out of this list is Carlos Beltran, because of the Houston cheating scandal. Alex Rodriguez using PEDs, regardless of being guilty or not. So those I think are difficult cases because they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But how do you grant someone a Hall of Fame for cheating? In the sense of these allegations of cheating. Um, Torrey Hunter, Andrew Greer Jones, I'm kind of favorite towards going in. Scott Rowland, Jimmy Rollins, Gary Sheffield. I mean, last year there was only one person, and that was David Ortiz, going into the Baseball Hall of Fame. 2 years ago, there was nobody. And so every year, this list, cycles through, and baseball has it where you're only able to qualify for so many years before you get dropped off. So if you're not on the list, I don't know how many years it is, if it's 5 or 7, but you need so many votes from your peers to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So if you're coming up on your final years and you don't make it, oh well, maybe you just need a couple extra more years, but you'll never know. So I wish all 28 men good luck into it. And I can't wait to see it. Like I said, we'll talk about that tomorrow night and just kind of give you a little bit of perspective of what you can possibly see. We don't talk a whole lot about basketball, and that's just because of knowledge that we lack of in the sport, and that's fine. I don't have a problem not talking about basketball. Maybe people want us to talk about basketball, or maybe they don't. Well, I could tell you there are a few stories that I would like to get to in the NBA, and one of the stories that I will focus upon is that is the Los Angeles Lakers. It's kind of always been a national news when it comes down to whatever the Lakers put out there on the court. Now, listen, LeBron James, Anthony Davis has kind of been hurt. Russell Wilson has been consistently inconsistent, back and forth. We and LeBron James have came out there. Last year was utter failure. And coming into this year, they're like, listen, we're going to win. We have to step up. We are too good or too talented not to be able to come out here and win the division, contend in the playoffs. And so, you go, and LeBron James, phenomenal. He's breaking streaks after streaks. He's 400 points, I think 400 plus, a little over 400 points away from winning or from captivating the first all-time score record. But LeBron James is out there saying, hey, we have to do something to give ourselves a better chance. Obviously, whatever we have now, this team that we imagine to take us to the playoffs, is not working. In the basketball season, we're at the end of January. You got February, March, April, season's done. And to have 2 seasons unsuccessful is not okay. Now, a lot of people shoot down that the Lakers won, NBA finals a couple years ago during the pandemic on the shortened season. And that is validated, right? I even say that the Dodgers on this hand has kind of, winning the World Series on a shortened season, it just doesn't give you that or motivation to say, hey, they've been able to play a complete season, come back and win a national championship. Okay, I get that. But for me, this is the time to do so. LeBron James is not getting any younger. Matter of fact, he says that he could, he wants to potentially retire in a few years. He also would like to play with his son, and that means whoever picks his son up eventually could potentially have a landing spot with LeBron James. And when you have LeBron James, you have yourself knowledge, you have yourself experience. And yes, at the age he is at now, he can still perform at the top peak level. Okay. So but so they went out there yesterday. They made it their first deal with the Washington Wizards, trading Kendrick Nunn and I want to say 3 second-round draft picks, and we'll get into that in a minute for Rui Hachimura. And I apologize if I butcher that name there. Okay. But you think about this, what did the Lakers give up? Kendrick Nunn, who I'm sorry, I don't know nothing about. 3 second-round draft picks. One for 2023, one for 2028, and one for 2029. So you're telling me that you got rid of a player that probably is best for none. You got rid of 3 second round, not first round, second round, which is fine, and you spread them out over the year so it's not hurting your franchise down the road or immediately. Because you can see draft picks, because people like to pick draft picks now, and they're really able to agree with Washington that we'll get draft picks in a couple of years. I think that's an automatic win. You know, something right coming out of I don't know how much is going to be beneficial for Washington in 2028 and 2029, but you're basically not giving up the future of your franchise, and you just got a chance to spread out your draft picks that you've given up. Okay, what did the Lakers get in Rui? Okay, and his average is 13 points a game, about 4 rebounds a game, and he's about 33% in his 3-point conversion. Not, I don't say the greatest numbers in this deal, but I think we've talked about this in baseball, we talked about this in football. I think it goes forth in basketball. Maybe a new site for a player is better for the organization, for that player. I was about to say organization, I meant for the player. And for Rui coming in, more of a defensive player, provides some help in coverage because LeBron James can't play both offense and defense for the entire 48 minutes of the game. We know that Anthony Davis can't play offense and defense the entire 48 minutes of the game. So for me, Rui, yes, you could put up double digits points, which is great, a great asset to help the Lakers succeed. But I'm relying on him on rebounds and blocking. He's more of he's more of a setup guy, in my opinion. And I ultimately think at the end of the day that the Lakers has won this trade over the Wizards. Now, listen, the Lakers, we can't tell you officially who won this deal for the next 10 years almost. Because for the Lakers, they picked up a player to compete right now. Okay. Washington, yeah, they got Kendrick Nunn in return, but their main focus is on those draft picks. Now, one of the draft picks will be this year, but 2 of them won't be until the end of the decade. And so we can't really tell, depending on who Washington picks up in these 3 draft picks and how they perform and how they will use them. We can't really for definite be sure that Lakers go on and have the better deal of this trade. We're not going to know, and this is going to probably be way behind us by the time this actually unfolds. But what we will know is by the end of the season, if Rui doesn't help benefit to get the Lakers just that much closer, then we can say, okay, Washington, you probably have a better chance of winning. The other thing is, though, that I think people need to realize is that LeBron has been saying this since December. We got to start making deals. We got to start trading for people, and we got to see what happens. We got to mix it up. Whatever is happening for the last 3 months is not working. Moving forward, we're gonna have to see what works. So we'll see overall what the outcome is as well. All right. Wrapping up our show, coming up here in the last segment of the morning here. A couple of news coming out from the NFL. Jimmy G and his questionable status for the NFC Conference Championship game, as we will talk about. Also, we will talk about Stephon Diggs' sideline reactions, his tweets defending his outburst, and all that stuff still to come as we get you guys ready to wrap up a Tuesday. Also leading you into NXT tonight on the USA Network. So don't press that dial. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Throw-In with me, Justin, right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. $11:41 here on the Throw-In. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. We like to talk a little bit about our good friends over at the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. Join Steve Barber, and Dwaylen Davis as they break down news and highlights in professional wrestling. The Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast is a weekly wrestling podcast found on YouTube and all audio streaming platforms. Go check out and follow Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast now. Good friends with them over there at Armchair Booking. Excuse me. I will tell you one thing that they have been working on. Their latest episode just posted about 12 hours ago. And they've been working on this project the last couple of weeks. Why We Are Friends, because kind of going around the board, interviewing people, friends, and colleagues, understanding just why they are friends, talking about the rich history of professional wrestling, whether you grew up in in the WCCW era, where everything was territorial, whether you were growing up in the Monday Night War games, whether you grew up afterwards, and getting a chance to kind of pick their brains and just enjoy a nice conversation of professional wrestling, which is always welcomed and overdue. So definitely highly, hey, go check them out, give them a like, give them a subscribe and a follow, and all that good stuff, because that's just who they are. So, Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. Alrighty, kind of ready to get the day going a little bit. I mean, a little about 17 minutes left before the end of the program, and you kind of won down a couple of final stories coming out of the NFL. And I know we'll probably have to start talking starting tomorrow about the AFC NFC conference games a little bit, but we'll kind of touch base a little bit here in a bit. But coming out of news yesterday, Bill O'Brien, former offensive coordinator, former coaching staff of the New England Patriots back from 2007, 2011, will return to return to New England as offensive coordinator, reuniting with Bill Belichick after 12 years. 2011, 2007 through 2011, led the league with 30 plus points a game. Also second with about 390 yards per game with Tom Brady. Now he'll get a chance to go and do it with Bill Belichick again, hopefully with Mac Jones this time around. Mac Jones, I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. Maybe with a new offensive coordinator that has worked in the past time. And this is a scenario where this offensive coordinator, yes, we've talked about how good Bill Belichick has been. Well, guess what? And we talked about how well this, trio or duo combination worked. Bill Belichick, O'Brien, and Tom Brady. Well, let's guess what? Tom Brady's no longer there. Bill Belichick has not been to the Super Bowl since then. Tom Brady has a Super Bowl above him. So right now, as of today, we're leading towards Tom Brady being at the top of this food chain, this dynasty area of New England Patriots, and being the main success of why the Patriots were just that much better. Bill Belichick comes in second, in my opinion, because, hey, he's kind of helped push the team to a playoff spot, but hasn't really done nothing significant. You get to O'Brien, who's probably, who's left the company left the franchise for 10 years and really has nothing to show for it, comes back, and now we get to see him work with Mac Jones. And we kind of hope that whatever O'Brien has and whatever Mac Jones has, they could kind of work together and kind of get over a small hump to, help lead the success of the New England Patriots. We'll talk about the Bills here in a moment, but you look at the rest of you got Zach Wilson in New York with the Jets. And all right, so, we saw them start off on a good note and then fall apart. So will the Jets make that effort to, fix their problems? Because the AFC East is not is probably one of the most challenging divisions that can be up in the air. And we saw that this year with the Bills and the Dolphins and the, Patriots and the Jets all kind of in the mix heading past, Thanksgiving weekend. The other thing to note yourself on is that, you know, Miami doesn't know the status of Tua Tagovailoa. And I think the one of the biggest off seasons questions for Miami is the future of Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, he's been hurt once at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year. He got hurt again at the end of the year, and these are injuries that you could really do a number on your body down the road. So, for the safety of Tua Tagovailoa, for the safety of the reputation of Miami Dolphins, the question coming into the offseason is that how do you build with Tua Tagovailoa? Do you continue him and build around him, protect him at all costs, knowing that this is a football game, you're still going to get hit? Or do you say, listen, Tua, thank you for playing. Unfortunately, we put you at a risk, and your injuries last year has risked your future. And the last thing we want you to do is to get hurt significantly under our hands. That's a big question. Tua has to determine that too. Hey, do I continue playing, risking that this is long-term injuries if I continue sustaining these? The other thing is, or do I risk, retiring, hanging out, moving on, and, just leave it as that? That's the question coming out of Miami. I don't know how much O'Brien's going to give Bill Belichick and Mac Jones, that upper advantage. But after seeing everything unfolding with the Bills last weekend, I think that Bills are going to have to maybe consider approaching a new tactic to get over the ream. And New England shown, hey, without O'Brien, they're practically there. It's getting over that stretch, getting in themselves in the playoffs. So we'll see, this coming up here, how O'Brien involves himself with the New England Patriots. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about the Buffalo Bills side of things, because Stephon Diggs, couple of things, a lot of people are kind of throwing stuff out there with Stephon Diggs and what they call quote unquote temper tantrum on the AFC divisional game between the Bengals. And, Stephon Diggs, first of all, I don't understand why people have to go out there and say anything about Stephon Diggs, throwing a fit at the, on the, on the sidelines. I mean, Tom Brady did that earlier on in the season against with the Buccaneers after they completely trashed themselves in their opportunities, and, listen, this is a team, Stephon Diggs is a captain, and we're referring probably mainly towards this pitcher here, right? Right. He's trying to talk to Josh Allen. Listen, I'm wide open, man. Come hit me. You think of a top quarterback, and I get it. It happens. It happens to the best of us. I'm not trying to make excuses because it was the snow. I'm not trying to make excuses because of this and that for why Josh Allen doesn't see him. But there was many a times that you could go back and look at the film that Stephon Diggs was open. And at one point of the game, he gets so upset and irate that he goes off, and I think this is probably a bet. I mean, he just stands there going off, and, Josh Allen continues to look at, film, listen, he has all right to go off. All right. He went out and he tweeted yesterday, what do you want me to, you want me to be okay with losing? Nah. You want me to be okay with the level that we play when it's not up to standard? Nah. It's easy to criticize my reaction more than the results. And the result is that, Stephon Diggs didn't have a top game. I didn't even think it was worthy enough to even bring, the stats to the table for Stephon Diggs, because it was ineffective of the game. And I get that. But at the end of the day, you have to realize, you guys, is that the Bills were looking to win and to move on to the AFC Conference Championship this weekend. And there was just so many mistakes and downfalls to the Bills in the game that unraveled this sense. And I'm perfectly fine with, Stephon Diggs not, with doing what he was doing. He wasn't irate. He wasn't, in a different, he didn't start throwing things around, you guys. He was a guy a captain who gets frustrated with losing like each and everybody does, especially when things just ain't going his way. Maybe he was or wasn't open. I'm not going to get into that, but, I mean, now the Bills have allowed the Bengals to surpass them. When you now, for the longest time, you were thinking, all right, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Now it's Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow in this sense. So I understand. I give Stephon Diggs a pass. And he said, you're not getting any younger, you guys. You got to start winning. And this is the fourth time that the Bills have been in this situation where they've come to this close and things go wrong and they can't get past certain players or certain teams. All right, last thing of this morning, I want to wrap up and conclude at, there was some reports about potentially seeing Jimmy Garoppolo in the AFC Conference Championship game against Philadelphia. Kyle Shanahan comes out and says, hey, listen, this is a very likely thing, you guys, to see Jimmy G. He may just not be ready. He could be ready for the Super Bowl, but that's for the Super Bowl. And my biggest thing coming out of this entire scenario, whether or not Jimmy G is ready to go or not, is Brock Purdy is doing perfectly fine right now for the 49ers at the head of the table, in San Francisco. You lose one, and then you go lose two quarterbacks in the season. And now you're skeptic about how Brock Purdy goes. San Francisco did this a couple years ago when Alex Smith got hurt. They put in Colin Kaepernick. They took him up to the championships, and then they completely blow it. Well, guess what, you guys? I mean, try not to blow it this time. There's always that possible conversation that's starting to linger around here, around town, saying that, hey, Cincinnati, you started your losing streak in the playoffs with the Raiders. Then you broke it with the Raiders. Well, the last time the Bengals won the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, was with the 49ers. Go on and break that with the 49ers coming up at the Super Bowl. But if you're the 49ers, man, stick with Brock Purdy. I can't stress enough. Stick with Brock Purdy, okay? And stick with what you know. Jimmy Garoppolo is not 100%. All right, he's not going to be 100% even if he can play. All right, your better chance right now is Brock Purdy heading into this game on Sunday. And even if you guys could get past Sunday, you could head to the Super Bowl, he's your best opportunity. All right. The questions that you need to ask yourself, San Francisco, is that what's your future? This is a ultimate statement for your upcoming, seasons. You have Trey Lance, who is out, that you invested time and money in, that is going to be your potential long, solution quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo was your backup at the last minute of the season. He goes down with the injury, and he just reproves that he's an injury-prone player. As much as I like Jimmy Garoppolo, go with Mr. Irrelevant, because that's the story that's going to be told. Even if you do or don't make it, even if you do and don't win, I'm going to say this, regardless of you'll win Sunday or you'll win at the Super Bowl or you'll lose Sunday or lose at the Super Bowl, Brock Purdy will be much more understanding and for an explanation to the media. I think it's easier to validate saying, hey, Jimmy G was not, Garoppolo was not 100% healthy. All right. And we did not want to risk putting him in there not healthy enough. Instead, when we have Brock Purdy, who is healthy enough and is, just as good as Jimmy Garoppolo. So if you're asking me, stick with Brock Purdy, because that's the best explanation that you have for, the remainder of the season. And then even if you lose, if you win, it's rise and shine. All right, great. You have this backup quarterback that's came up and came through for you, and Mr. Irrelevant is the biggest story of the season. But then you get to, if you lose, you threw in Garoppolo, even though he wasn't healthy. A lot of questions go back to Kyle Shanahan saying, why you make this decision when you knew he wasn't healthy. You could always say and step into Shanahan's shoes if Brock Purdy loses a game and say, listen, he took the team as far as he could. Okay. Every quarterback has ups and downs. And, we did the best we can with what we had. So, like I said, Kyle Shanahan says it's a long, it's a long shot to see Jimmy Garoppolo come back for the AFC Championship game, possibly even for the Super Bowl if they can make it. And I just say that, all right, listen, just stick with it. Don't need to sugarcoat it, in my opinion. But that's on that. And I'm excited because these two games, Bengals and Chiefs and the 49ers and Eagles, 49, especially with how the Eagles performed last week, coming up to face San Francisco. Now it's more of a throwdown that we'll see. And then Kansas City and Bengals have a repeat. And you want the Bengals to win. I would like to see the 49ers and Bengals at the Super Bowl, and the Bengals could finally overcome and beat, the 49ers. But we'll see about that. All right, tomorrow we will talk a little bit more about getting ready for some of these games. What do we need to know coming from Kansas City? What do we need to know and be concerned about coming into with our own in Cincinnati? Have they found that key touch with the offensive line? Great performance. They got to do it again against a top-notch defense. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll get you guys ready for AEW Dynamite tomorrow. Don't forget, WWE NXT after an amazing Raw 30th anniversary. NXT is tonight, 8 p.m. on the USA Network. Don't be afraid to miss that out. Catch us out. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in to us on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. If you guys are over on the Facebook and Twitter page, thank you. And be sure to download and listen to us if you missed anything on all audio platforms. And until tomorrow, you guys take care. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you guys later.